This one's sample number 2. This one was just lifting, and from memory this one didn't go particularly well. Right. So this one started off in 3 pieces. I believe it's cracked again in the middle here. And 4 pieces. I believe this piece has come off of this main piece. The rest of it looks absolutely fine, really. I think it's lost a bit of moisture since it came out of the ground. The peat has remained damp, and the wood is still damp, but not as wet as I think we should be keeping it, which may have had something to do with why it's cracked again. But this was a very fragile piece of wood that was lifted, so relatively speaking, that's, well, compared to how it was after it came out of the ground, it survived quite well. Obviously it didn't survive particularly well coming out of the ground in the first place. I think that bit goes on the end up there. So that's just the lift technique. This is sample number 3. This is lifting and sliding a plate underneath technique. Interestingly, there's a fair amount more peat packed around this one. We'll see whether that helped it retain more moisture. I believe this came in one piece. See, this chunk has come apart. I believe that's mostly peat. It does have some bark sitting on it, so that's broken away in the box. As well as this chunk up here, there's less wood on that. It's difficult to tell whether this was while it was in the box or during transportation from one end of the site to the other. I don't think they were unduly knocked about when they're being carried. There also seems to be this piece of wood that I've just broken. This was separate from the block of wood when it came out of the box. It's not obvious where that's actually come from, but a couple of cracks in it. Nothing really changed from when it was lifted except for this piece and this piece having been removed. Unfortunate. And this is sample number 4. This is the expanding foam and the box technique. Thing is, already I can feel that the peat in this sample is a fair amount drier than that of the other samples. But maybe having it inside this box has retained some moisture inside the peat. Looky. So this was one that was already in 2 pieces. One of the reasons we tried it was to see how effective the foam would be at not making these 2 pieces move apart. And so far, out of those 4, I'd say this one's been the most successful so far. Bit of a crack in here, but it's not separated away from the main body. Bit of a crack along there, very small ones. As for the rest of it, it seems all pretty well intact. Looks like there's still the same amount of preserved underbark on this piece. It's still the same, relatively the same distance. Might have to double check that. I'm quite pleased with that one actually. I think that distance is essentially the same. That one's worked pretty well. Expect so, it's most expensive and most damaging to the context. Looks good.